This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Arise, family.
Issues at hand.
Oh yes, good morning once again, and thank you for keeping it to Church of Uganda Family TV. And now this is Issues at Hand. Yes, we're going to be talking about things that matter down there, and today it is quite an interesting one. You know, this month is a special one. From now until the 30th of July 2025, we shall be in that lane. Now, what lane am I talking about? We shall be commemorating the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, or you can call it the International Day of Trafficking in Persons. So this is what we're going to be talking about here today. And you also want to know what the statistics are in that regard. Yes, some of you could know that there is trafficking, but to what extent? Some of you know that trafficking only happens outside there, but yes, it can even happen here internally in our country. So that's what we're going to be talking about. What are the forms and how can it be prevented? What do you need to do as a person so that your neighbor or you are not trafficked? Well, and my name is Luke Majumba. I want to remind you that. And today I'm privileged to be hosting Mr. Basalirwa Kigenyi Derrick, who is a senior immigration officer, but also the deputy national coordinator, Office of Trafficking in Persons at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. It is my humble pleasure to welcome him here. Of course, he will be able to take us through what we are going to be discussing here. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Luke, and thank you so much to this rather cold morning.
Yeah, it is
very
cold out.
Very good for us because even the sun was scorching. And welcome indeed to the month where we when we commemorate the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons. So every activity and everything else that we going to put our hands on, as government, as an office that coordinates all activities to combat human trafficking, all our partners are focused on these activities, and also to see to it that by the 30th of July we have a very fruitful commemoration as a country as we join the rest of the community internationally.
Okay, interesting. So before we even go any further, can we first understand what trafficking could mean?
Oh yeah. When you say trafficking, maybe someone else there may think you're talking about the road traffic.
The roads, exactly.
Or traffic officers. Well, we say it as trafficking in persons because there are other forms of trafficking in goods, in wild, in game. There are people who traffic in drugs. Now, for us, we concentrate on trafficking in persons, the human being. There are people there that are interested in taking advantage of the human being, abusing the rights of a human being and the freedoms of this person, anyone. And they have no limit to the age, they have no limit to the size, they have no limit to your profession. They will traffic anyone. So what do we mean by trafficking in persons? In brief, I would say it is about 3 ingredients when we talk about trafficking in persons. And those 3 ingredients include the actions, the means, and the purpose. Now, when you combine these 3, you will now ably understand what trafficking a person or human trafficking, which we also refer to as modern day slavery, means. So, when I speak of the acts or the actions, these are things that are performed or done by a trafficker. And the acts include recruitment, for instance. We've heard this. Some of these terms are very familiar. But we did not know that they really culminate into trafficking a person. Recruiting someone for instance, for employment.
Mm.
We've seen recruitment companies do this.
Yeah.
Recruiting someone, even for casual work at home. We have maids that are working in our homes, even abroad.
Mm.
Recruiting someone for anything that turns out exploitative
Mm.
will likely culminate into trafficking that person.
Okay.
Now, recruitment is one, I said.
Mm.
Transportation of the individual.
Mm.
You know, when someone is yet to exploit you, they will move you from a place where they think maybe they will not have a good chance to exploit you.
Mm.
So they usually transport people. And this transportation has no limits. It's also done by all means. On foot, people are moved. We've seen our children who are moved on foot from Karamoja, for instance, from Napak. And they walk through those thickets to Soroti, maybe to a place where they feel you can now onboard a vehicle. People are moved by means of cycling, by means of motorcycles, by cars, to the extent of aircraft. People are flown out. Even on water, we have people moving on boats from one island to another, from the island to the mainland, from the mainland to the island. All these people that are being moved for purposes of exploitation are victims of trafficking in persons. Transportation is the second I talked about. Transfer. People are moved and transferred from place to place. I know you've heard very often our Ugandans talking about ebiyumba, or houses where they are held and confined and all this. Yes, this also speaks into trafficking another person. Hiring is the other one. People are hired or can hire. For instance, if you have a car, we have people in transport business. They hire out their vehicles, not knowing or knowingly, they hire out their vehicles to people that are trafficking others. They transport individuals from place to place using these vehicles, buses, taxis, name it, even the saloon cars. This also speaks into trafficking in persons. We talked about harboring also. Harboring is another act performed by the trafficker. Now, this is also coupled with confining someone in a place and facilitating an individual to be trafficked. For instance, if I'm an officer and then I happen to play a role in facilitating another person or you into this trafficking business, I'm culpable. Now, those are the actions mainly that are performed by a trafficker. These actions are also achieved, like I said, through means that I'm going to mention quickly. And these means enable the actions to be performed. One, deception as a means. Fraud, force, coercion, abuse of office. Yes, there are people in offices that are very influential, and they take advantage of these vulnerable people, and they take advantage of the poor people, and they take advantage of anyone. As long as they become vulnerable before them, they could exploit them. So, abuse of office is another means that is used by traffickers to also achieve that purpose. And also giving benefits. We've seen persons that are promised, someone promises you a scholarship for your children, or promises to pay so much money for a service or something that they need from you, and yet you end up being trafficked. Now, we talked of actions, means. Now we go to the purpose. The main purpose to which someone is exploited, is trafficked, is exploitation. To this, you can list as many forms of exploitation as you can, because even our law keeps it an open bracket. We say to the limit, to the least, not to the limit, but to the least. We list what we have, but we know that due to the nature of human trafficking, anything can turn out to be a form of exploitation. I'll just mention some. Sexual exploitation is one, and it's so high because most of the numbers that are exploited are the women and children. We have labor exploitation. This is so common, even here domestically. We have forced labor is another form of exploitation. We have people that are exploited online. Now this is very recent and now on the rise. Online scamming, online trafficking of people is happening a lot now, and people need to be aware because we're in this digital era, and so the traffickers also keep evolving their style. We need to keep up with that. Then in our country we have tendencies of witchcraft. People are trafficked into this human sacrifice. People are trafficked, especially our children, that are taken up and trafficked and taken to places, shrines, and they are sacrificed. You can imagine someone thinks by spilling blood of this child they become wealthy.
Rich, yeah.
What a misunderstanding, you know. And these are things that we need to address in the minds of our people across. You can name all forms of exploitation in there. Otherwise, I could have an endless list.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting.
So, actions means purpose. You will derive what trafficking in persons
Okay.
is about. Yeah.
Wow. So can we now look at the mandate of the office
Of the
itself?
office, oh yes. Government in the year 2009 established the National Coordination Office for Prevention of Trafficking in Persons through the law, which was then passed. The Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, now CAP 131 of 2009, establishes the Coordination Office for Prevention of Trafficking in Persons under Section 20. Now this, through the Minister's powers, the office was established. And this office has 3 core roles, mainly. I'll briefly mention. That is coordination of all activities in the country that are to do with prevention of trafficking in persons, or human trafficking. Also, to monitor all activities that are being conducted by other players, because when you're fighting human trafficking, this is something you cannot do
alone,
single-handed. You have to do it as a team.
Yes.
So we have so many other stakeholders, MDAs, local governments involved, civil society organizations that really play a big role in combating human trafficking. We have international organizations that are also contributing so much to support in activities and anything else that they can do. Like repatriation, we've seen this happen through IOM and other international organizations, GIZ and the like. They have supported very often our shelters and the like. And also any other partners. The public is a partner in this, because without the public engagement we cannot really get hands on this.
Yes, sure.
They have to give us information. They have to point out where the culprits are, you know. And then of course other institutions like cultural institutions, the religious fraternities. We've had engagements, I think every 9th of September we have a national day, National Prayer Day for Victims of Trafficking in Persons. This is spearheaded, I think, by the Catholic Church.
Okay.
But all other churches and Muslims and other religious fraternities always come and we commemorate this together, pray together for our victims, and this has happened severally, you know. So you can talk of all partners that come on board to support in this. Now the last role is to do with overseeing. It's an oversight role, overseeing the implementation of this act. The office also has this mandate to oversee the implementation of the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act, to ensure that it is well implemented, and also to see to it that if there is need, we push or foster for any amendments of the law. And in fact, the process is ongoing to amend the law and also fit in some of the evolvements that we've seen, because so many things have evolved over the years since 2009. So many things have changed. We've seen COVID in 2019. We've seen so many lessons learned, and with the theme for this year's commemoration of the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, that speaks into human trafficking being organized crime, hashtag end the exploitation, you realize that in being organized, there's a lot of things that we need to address ourselves to. Because the traffickers themselves are very organized. And they are very influential, some of them.
Yes.
And they are very well financed. You know? So we need to up our game also to come to this. So those are the main three core functions
Very interesting.
of our office.
So now let's go to enforcement. How you enforce the stipulated guidelines or laws in order to have to prevent trafficking in persons in our country. And in that, I also realized there are partners that you did mention earlier who help you in this, because it's not a sole man's fight. Yeah, and how do you identify, when we talk about enforcement, I also want you to move to the person's mind outside there. These ones majorly who want opportunities, job opportunities. I want to go to this, I want to go to this. How do you identify that this is an authentic company, just like you had mentioned earlier? So let's talk about enforcement.
How do you get to that point as an individual who is viewing us? How do you get to the point of trusting this company or this individual? Mind you, it's not only an individual. I mean a company that can engage in trafficking a person.
Yes, sure.
Even an individual. We've had these cases.
But there's some time I watched a documentary, and just people are getting children from northern Uganda, and they reach somewhere in Soroti. That's the selling point.
Yes. There is a market
Market
called Arapai Market in Soroti.
Yes.
There was a documentary, I think, on NBS sometime by Kanari Mugumi. It's a very good documentary. Everyone needs to watch it, and it speaks directly to our hearts and exactly what's happening. Imagine selling a child for 50,000 shillings.
Yes, your own child.
Your own child. This time it wasn't an agent involved, it was the mother of the child. Well, you could have so many questions about this, the poverty and the like, but you know, at the end of the day, we always have to do the right thing.
That's right.
We just have to do the right thing, you know. So yes, there is that. But getting back to enforcement, from the coordination office and all the partners, we approach combating human trafficking under the concept of the 4 Ps. Now, the 4 Ps here speaking to prevention, preventing the crime from happening. It talks about protection, protection of the victim, protection of all other persons that are affected by what has happened. And then we also talk about prosecution. Now here there is a very big role that our DPP's office plays in prosecution, together with the CIDs in our country, because they work hand in hand. We no longer operate this single-handedly. When we have cases, they have to be handled as a team, right from start. And this has given us an edge to achieving success in convicting perpetrators. So, the 4 Ps, yes. That's prosecution. And the last one is partnerships. Like I said, if we do not partner locally or internationally, I'm telling you, we cannot combat this crime. We have to partner. At the moment, in the region, we have these partnerships ongoing. With Kenya, for instance, with other neighboring countries. We are engaging all over the place. We are also now fostering an engagement with the DRC officials to see to it that when we have victims, the service that they get here, the service that we accord them here is quite similar to what they are accorded maybe when we repatriate them or when we send them back home, so that we do not lose the grip on looking for these traffickers. Yes. So for us, the partnership has a very big role. And like I said, internationally, this is exactly what we have to do. Remember, the perpetrator or the trafficker just easily moves across the border. whether they are using the right immigration channels or they are using porous points, they will move across the border and they will do it again, you know. So how best can we do this? Partnerships,
Yes.
you know. That's how you can break organized crime. This year's theme is basically human trafficking is organized crime. Hashtag let's end the exploitation. So when we speak about how do we enforce this, how do we get around this, we approach it in a 4-piece kind of series.
Interesting.
Yes.
What are the challenges, maybe if I can say major challenges you face while enforcing?
Well, I will relate this to this year's theme. I think it was well thought by the UNODC because human trafficking being organized crime really speaks into a lot of challenges. When you find an organized group, to break through it is a hassle. It's a problem because it's usually a chain, and the chain has command. One person to another, you know. Whereas you may get grip on the trafficker in Uganda or in one part of the country, in Kampala, the next trafficker that they are working with just continues with business as usual, maybe in Gulu or Mbarara, wherever they are, because you haven't found them out, you know. So one of the major challenges is the nature itself of the crime. It's multifaceted and it requires a lot of investment in resource, human resource, in finances. For instance, the budget has to really be improved by government for combating human trafficking. It also calls upon us to continue ensuring there is this cooperation amongst stakeholders, amongst partners, and amongst governments, if you may say. For instance, now in the ESC regional states, you know, it's quite challenging, you know, to put all these things together, especially when the finances are not coming through. Because without the finances, yet the traffickers are really running with the money all the time. It becomes a challenge. However, yes, we have corruption tendencies. That's quite challenging also, where you have situations when officers are involved. That's a form of corruption because they're picking money from the traffickers and they're just continuing with the vice. It's very challenging, and this does not stop at that point where the trafficker is arrested, maybe, or at the border they are stopped. It also goes through all through maybe prosecution and what have you. So it always affects the fight against trafficking in persons. One other challenge that we face as a country is not having shelters for victims as government. I must say, like I said, our civil society organizations really play a big role for us because they are the ones housing the victims. But you know, they also depend on donations, and you see how they are being affected, left, right, center. So it's quite challenging. Government we need to come up and have our shelters also alongside the shelters of CSOs and NGOs that are supporting us, so that we partner and support each other to ensure there is a lot of sustainability in this fight. Otherwise, when you have victims that are supposed to, for instance, go through the justice system and you don't have where to put them, or it's challenging, especially we do not have shelters for male victims. Even with the CSOs, it's challenging.
Male victims.
Yes. Wow. And yet we have victims that are in that category of gender. So that also poses a very, very huge challenge for us, lack of shelters as government, and also the finances I talked about. And yes, that bit of the corruption tendencies always affects.
Well, very interesting. Thank you so much. We are still continuing with this discussion, but now we are going to the break and take off these few commercials, and we return. Please stay on as we continue understanding what trafficking in persons could mean and the challenges faced in there, but also the preventive measures.
Issues at hand.
Oh yes, welcome back, and we are here talking about the World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, which is going to be commemorated on the 30th of July 2025, and of course the entire month is about creating awareness about this vice, trafficking in persons, but majorly what you can also do as a person, as a citizen out there, because for me, I believe everything starts with us. Because we are the center of everything. So what you can do as a person is what we are discussing here. Now we are going to look at, I am here with Mr. Basalirwa Kigenyi, who is Mr. Derrick, and he's the National Deputy Coordinator for the Office of Trafficking in Persons at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, but also he's a Senior Immigration Officer. So now my question goes to the victim support and protection. What measures are there? What strategies do we have there at the office?
Well, this is very pertinent. Like I said, the fact that we grapple with shelters affects a lot of the supporting, especially on the side of government. However, we are really very grateful to the CSOs that we have, the civil society organizations in the country. They've supported in this fight, especially when they provide this sheltering. And also when it comes to repatriation of victims of human trafficking, those that have been identified in other countries. For instance, in this month of May, government in partnership with the CSOs and other relevant partners managed to have repatriation successfully of 51 Ugandans,
51
yet again from Myanmar. I think in 2023 we talked about the 23 Ugandans that were repatriated sometime from Myanmar. surprisingly, we still had
Same place.
Ugandans back there. Now, with this support that we saw, that we've seen, that we leverage on from our civil society organizations, NGOs, the international organizations I've talked about, they've always supported us when it comes to the victims, all the way through the justice system, repatriating them back home, and also rescuing them. There are victims that are rescued domestically from different parts of the country, rescued from their traffickers, and they are handled all the way, all through by the CSOs that we have in the country. The CSO network has a coalition against trafficking in persons for Uganda.
Okay.
We refer to as CATIP-U, Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. Uganda brings all the CSOs that are in the fight against trafficking in persons together. Now, through this coalition, the CSOs came up with a directory of service providers. It's a booklet, if you like, but it's also online now. So anyone and wherever you are, you can pick up your phone or on your computer, just go online, type in the directory of service providers for victims of human trafficking or trafficking in persons, and you will be able to identify with a CSO or an NGO nearest to you in case we need to support a victim, or you're looking for where to place them, or you really need to help them, maybe with a shelter or something to start with, you know. So this is a milestone for us. This online directory, now, like I said, in the region, there is also a regional CSO network for the Eastern Horn of Africa. This should by now be merged with our CSO directory or in the near future. So it's going to be in a way that when you have a victim online, you can know the place, you can work out a placement in Uganda, in Kenya, in say Ethiopia, all the East African countries that are part of this. So it's easy, even if we have Ugandans in Kenya, for instance, that need attention, they will be placed and the follow-up will be smooth. Even when they are repatriated to Uganda, we shall know how to place them and where. So that's the power that we have from the CSO network. Now, they've also gone ahead to skill victims. There are victims that have come back. One of the major CSOs in the country that has supported in skilling our victims with all forms of empowerment. Victims come out, graduate in hairdressing, they graduate in knitting, they graduate in sewing, they graduate in baking stuff, and their lives change. It's called Ever Free, Ever Free. So, with all this support, Ever Free and Rahab have supported us. This is the end game for a victim of trafficking persons, because you want the victim to get back to a state where they are normalized, where they can maybe fend for themselves, where they are no longer vulnerable. So this is also coupled with the kind of support that we need. But also the international organizations that are in the country that are part of this fight against human trafficking. Through the EU funding, we've had a lot of support from the GIZ in shelters. We have had a lot of support from IOM at borders and other activities inland. We've had a lot of support from the British Council with spotlight activities and spreading the gospel across the place, across the country. We have had a lot of support also from the other agencies like Civipol. It's a French company that supports all activities. For instance, Civipol also supported in the development of standard operating procedures that are used by investigators and prosecutors. You can imagine this. That means if a case is being managed, let's say in the northern region, it should not be so deviant from a case being managed in central or south. The officers will use a standard. So the justice levels will be up to standard.
Okay.
We shall not have people doing the way they think or their own way, but by following these standards, it helps us to achieve success at the end of the justice tunnel. And we've had successes. Recently, just this month that ended yesterday, there is one case of Tukwasibwe Jr. Tukwasibwe Jr. is an over 40-year-old man. He was convicted and sentenced to 46 years imprisonment.
Wow.
Yes, for us this is a milestone. Thanks to the DPP's office that has made sure this happens. This is a case that started way back in 2013. The gentleman happened to start up what we call a community-based organization, a CBO, in Kabale district.
Okay.
Now, in there, he tagged it or named it for children. Education for children, street children in Uganda. So it's very enticing.
Yeah,
you would
very.
imagine it's really going to help our people. He started off well, I think, but the community-based organization was never approved or licensed by the Minister of Gender. It was never approved. That means he was operating it illegally. That's one. But to make it worse, the director himself, Mr. Tukwasibwe Jr., went on to exploit the victims, 15, 14-year-old girls. He raped some.
So
you
bad.
know, he had legal canal knowledge of these young people. He defiled them, quite a number of them. Unfortunately, like you said, one of the main challenges we have is the interference with the witnesses, and quite a number of them actually were interfered with by the organized nature of his gangs, of Junior's gangs. But good enough, we still had some that came through. Some of the witnesses that came through, the victims, and they testified, and he was sentenced.
That's
and
great.
it's really a milestone for us, you know. And we've had other cases, of course, like in Bali, one gentleman who was sentenced to life imprisonment. Yes. So, for us, the kind of support network that we have developed, the kind of referral mechanism that we use, because we have a national referral mechanism or national referral guidelines that we use, helps us to support victims, helps us to work around the protection of victims, and still under the 4P concept of making sure we are preventing, making sure we are protecting victims, making sure we are also ensuring that prosecution happens. Perpetrators are put to book, and also the victims may be compensated or brought back to their normalcy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
but through
interesting.
the partnership still.
Wow. Now, I believe we don't have much time left. Can we now talk about the day itself? What do we have pre-activities? What is the purpose of the day? When exactly and where exactly are we going to celebrate this?
All right. The World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, like I said, is a day that was set aside in 2013 by the UN General Assembly to commemorate victims of trafficking in persons, and also to reflect on the levels of awareness raising, to reflect on our efforts across the globe, because it's not only happening in Uganda, it's going to happen across the globe. It's an international day. So this day brings the whole world together to raise awareness, to bring people to attention that human trafficking is a crime, and it's an organized crime. We need to end this form of exploitation. In other countries, even here, we have termed it also as modern day slavery. It's the modern day slavery. So, what is going to happen throughout this month of July? Government, together with all other partners, the CSOs I've talked about, other ministries and departments and authorities engaged in this, local governments, name it, we are going to be on social media, we are going to be on all platforms, we are going to be in all places, in all regions. If possible, we could get engaged with so many radio stations as much as possible to make sure that we create more noise about human trafficking and how it is an organized crime and how we need to combat it. We shall talk about what people need to know, what our people need to do when they are faced with this crime, and how they can identify victims of human trafficking and how they can support them, how they can help them. Like I said, we have a referral system that we use as a country. How can someone make use of the way we refer victims? But if they are not aware, still they have somewhere to start. They can start at the LCs. They can start at the nearest police station or post. They can start at the nearest friend or family friend or authority that they can really access. So, on that particular day, the 30th of July, I think it's a Wednesday, we shall commemorate the day here in Kampala. We are yet to confirm the venue because we are torn between two venues. But we are yet to confirm the venue, which we shall also communicate. But it's going to be in Kampala here. It will start off very early with the dignitaries. We shall have to conduct a marching through the city with a band, Uganda Police band that will support us there. We shall go through the streets of Kampala from start point to a point where, we are going to have this commemoration. A number of dignitaries will come through. We shall have success stories of victims. We shall have also speeches from all partners, international partners, CSOs from government side. We shall have some victims that can say something about it. We shall have, we need to have you also, Family TV.
All right,
we need to have you there to cover this. But I was going to say the fourth estate. We need to have everyone on board.
All right.
Yes, to see to it that the drum is really sounded and more people can really help in this fight.
So what should the public expect from this celebration?
From this commemoration, we expect that the public will be our ambassadors at the end of the day. They will join hands with us and lead in this fight against trafficking in persons. And especially, our expectation is that, of course, government continues to lead this fight, but we hope that the more we sound the drum, the more we attract more advocacy, the more we attract more partners that pick interests, like the private sector. We need them on board. We need them to come and say, okay, yes, we are industries, but what can we do? Can we provide something for the shelters? Can we advertise for you? Can we, something like that. So the expectations from the public and us are that, for me, I think we just need to see more people join us as we join them in this fight against trafficking in persons. Yeah.
Wow, very strong indeed. Maybe for just 1 minute on how the public can also be part.
Well, it's really open to the public. Now that
no, specifically to be part of ending the vice.
Ending the vice.
Yes.
Oh yes. As long as you have any medium of communication, even verbally, just tell a neighbor about it. Just tell your friend. Just tell a family friend. Just tell an authority. Go to the nearest person you can go to. As long as you notice something that is unusual, you notice something that is not happening right, you notice any form of exploitation, like I mentioned, you could even see there is a house that only opens at night, but you hear there are people there, maybe young girls are there, or you hear anything there, please pick your phone up, pick yourself up, just report for the sake of saving this someone, for the sake of helping another person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And now, as we wind up, any last message you'd have for the people out there, for the viewer?
Yes, I'll resound again and make it even bigger, that human trafficking is organized crime. The more we are organized, the better for us to fight this crime. Let's end the exploitation together. Let's fight human trafficking together. It starts with you and starts with me too.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Basalirwa Kigenyi Derrick, who is once again a senior immigration officer, but also he is the deputy national coordinator in the Office of Trafficking in Persons, and that is at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Thank you so much for the information given, and I believe you out there have also understood that trafficking in persons is here, and you must be able to play your part as well. Now, playing your part, just like he has mentioned as we are concluding, you have a big role to inform whether if there is any suspicious happening out there. Please just get your phone, inform the rightful people, and that's how you'll be able to save someone from being trafficked, yet you didn't know that they were actually being trafficked. I want to appreciate you for joining us this morning. My name is Luke Majumba Ali Naitwe, and yes, I believe you have picked something from this discussion. Please have a lovely day.
Issues at hand